Welcome again to yet another sorrowful edition of the Phil Taylor Jones Show. We come to you this morning with heavy hearts after receiving the news last evening that we have 5 law enforcement officers dead and quite a few injured, still fighting for their lives. This was all after the fact of 2 black men being shot and killed, and I guess rally did ensue at that point in Dallas and all over the country. I'm Phil Taylor Jones, your host, and we're going to be covering this whole tragedy in depth. And you're welcome, as always, to come along with us. Before we get into the actual story, again, I find myself here at the Phil Taylor Jones Show, along with the exec, wishing those family members of those slain officers and the ones that were severely injured our heartfelt condolences and our heartfelt feelings, in hoping that the ones that still made it out alive continue to get well and become their 100% wonderful selves once again. You know, as I am going to be touching on some very tender and serious subjects, let me start out by saying, as I always do when these kinds of things occur. First of all, these officers that were killed had nothing to do with the 2 men that were murdered in different states. One in Baton Rouge and the other in Milwaukee, I believe it was. They had nothing to do with this. They went out because there was a large crowd and they were trying to maintain some kind of peace and order, and lost their lives. These potentially wonderful, good officers that are out there to protect and serve the people of Dallas. Good officers, veteran officers, perchance rookie officers, but wonderful officers that are there to serve the public in the correct and right way. Lost their lives. We do have heavy hearts here at the show because of some idiots, some murderers who decided to take human life. Having said that, now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this story. It seems to center around 2 men that were shot earlier this week and killed. One, Mr. Anton, what was his name? I had it here and I lost it for a minute. His name was, hold on folks, the exec is getting it. But let me just say that he had a police record. He had a record pretty long. Now, he allegedly was in front of a store selling, I guess, bootleg CDs. And the police took note of that, or maybe some shopkeeper reported it, and, they came. I don't honestly believe it had to end up in death. From what I saw on telly, they had the man down. He was already out, subdued, under the knee of one of the police officers, and then another one stuck the gun in his flesh and fired. I don't see the need in that. They had him subdued, cuff him, put him in the squad car, take him down, put him in the clink. Job done. This other gentleman that was in, I believe it was Milwaukee, his name was Phil Castillo. Castillo. He was a cafeteria manager at a school. Everybody loved him. The kids loved him. He had no felony record whatsoever. He had a few skirmishes with police over some automotive things, like a busted muffler. He was driving without a license, on a suspended license, and which I'm not trying to condone. But he was not a felon. He didn't have a police record as long as my arm. He was pulled over supposedly for a busted taillight. And He was asked for his registration, license, and proof of insurance. He told the officer that he was going to get that. He also told the officer that he was registered and licensed, and he did indeed have a gun, handgun. As the man reached for his ID and the registration and everything, they shot him. The other gentleman I was referring to was Alton Sterling. Thanks. Yeah, he did have a record, but this Phil guy, he didn't have a record. Reaching for his wallet to comply with the officer's directions, was shot several times in front of his girlfriend and his baby daughter in the back seat. Girlfriend filming the whole thing. Who in their right mind stops somebody for a busted taillight and then kills them? An officer of the law would have stopped the man and say, hey, buddy, the reason I'm stopping you is because you got a busted taillight. I don't want you to get hurt. Somebody probably doesn't know that you're, activating a stop here. And I see you got your baby in the car and your wife or whatever. I don't want you guys to get hurt because somebody doesn't know that you're, actually braking. So I want you to get that fixed as soon as possible. And this is a warning. If I see you again with this, I'm going to give you a ticket, because this is a safety issue. And the guy, Phil, would probably say, oh, thank you, officer. Yeah, I'll get that fixed right away. Stopping somebody for a busted taillight does not mean you got to kill them. So this is where I say there are two sets of men in blue. One, the coveted police officer that we have come to know and respect and trust and love. And then you got a thug that wears a badge, who has no intent but to go around and hurt, maim, or even kill people. That kind of supposed law enforcement officer I cannot get behind. And I would be a fool to just sit here and just blindly say, oh, all the policemen are cool and we shouldn't be killing them. Well, I'm going to, say no, we shouldn't be killing anybody. But to understand why maybe somebody would want to cut loose on somebody like that, that's understandable. Not condonable, but certainly understandable. Now, that's to set the thing up in Dallas. Well, first of all, before we go to Dallas, I'd like to kind of go back in history a little bit. This new thing that's going around, Black Lives Matter. Well, let's think about that thing, Black Lives Matter. Do they really? No, they never have. I've said this on other shows, but they never have mattered. Let's go back. White man. Back in the early, 1800s or so. Comes up with these grandiose ideas to have these big plantations, these big, just, bombastic pieces of land with all kinds of growth, all kinds of vegetation, all kinds of textile materials like cotton. They just, as far as you can see, is their land. Well, after all the stuff grows up, comes this interesting question. Who's going to harvest it? Who's going to get it prepared to go and sell? Okay, yeah, I could hire people, but that would diminish my bottom line. So what do? Jump on a ship eastward bound to Africa and procure slaves. Not partners, not associates, slaves, less than nothing. You work for me. I might give you a little something if I so desire. But you're my slave. You belong to me. You do my bidding. Or you'll get the hell beat out of you. You might even get killed. Wonderful working conditions, aren't they? So they bring them back stateside by the millions, shiploads of them, stacked up, bodies stacked up, I don't know how many deep, so much so that it actually crushes and kills The poor folks that are on the bottom, they have to pitch them over in the sea. Then they work for old Massa, doing all of his bidding, because he, the white man, is too lazy to do his own damn work. Hatred, beating them, whipping them, tearing up their backs so that they look like so many railroad tracks. Knocking them in the head with gun butts, axe handles, so that the man's face now looks, and his head looks like the dark side of the moon filled with craters. Hatred of the black man, but still will use him to no end. Hatred of blacks in general, but then they don't mind bedding the women down. Yeah, there's lots of milk chocolate running around. This is what we're talking about. Racism. Bringing somebody lower than a rock that you may find on the ground. They were satisfied by these women that they just found in disgust in the daytime, you know. But at night, oh boy, did they get their satisfaction. Turn of the century, 1900s, stuff still going on. Blacks now are maybe a little more educated than they were, say, when they first came in the 1800s. But still, no voice, no power. You work for old Massa. You get your butt beat every day. You get raped every night. How can Black Lives matter? They didn't. You did what the white man told you to do, or you would die by the white man's hand. Whites operated. They maintained their power by intimidation and fear. When a black person saw a white person come, oh, they would cower like a 2-week-old puppy. Black Lives Matter? No, they didn't. Let's move along up in time. We're talking maybe about, maybe 30s, 40s, 50s. Still that intimidation, still that fear of the white man, the Ku Klux Klan, the Aryan Nation, the Knights of the White Brotherhood, the skinheads, you name it. Intimidation and fear kept them niggers in line. Niggers. Kept them niggers in line. Whatever we tell you to do, you do it. No matter how old you were, you're still a boy. No matter how old you are, you're still a gal. Come here, gal. Get me some lemonade. Get me whatever I want. You, come here, boy. Man could be 50 years old. Come here, boy. What you doing up in these bars, boy? Fear and intimidation. Well, let's go on up a little further. One day, Rosa Parks was coming home from a very hard day's work. After waiting some more on a bus, it finally arrives. She gets on, she sits down in the first seat available. To our standards today, there's nothing wrong with that. But back in the day, she not only did a wrong thing, she broke the law. It was law, that Jim Crow stuff, that niggas sit in the back. The front of the bus reserved for the white folks. Well, Rosa Parks was arrested because she refused to give up her seat to a white man. Fear and intimidation of the whites against the blacks kept them niggers under control. Well, here comes Martin, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Things begin to change. Now, starting out, Martin, he kind of got, even though he was a reverend and everything, he kind of got a little upset about that thing, and he wasn't necessarily peaceful. But then he learned of the teachings of Mohandas Gandhi. Peaceful resistance. How it was working in Africa and making significant change. He thought about that thing a while and said, I don't know about that. But the more he got into it, the more he researched it. He said, yes, I'm a man of God, and these are godly-like qualities. So I'm going to put them into effect. And he did. And boy, were they successful. They did that bus boycott down there in Montgomery. Brought their white bus lords to their knees. The boycott held. And after the bus lines started losing millions of dollars a day, they understood for the first time that Black lives mattered. But not because somebody was going around being abrupt, belligerent, and in your face with the Black Lives Matter. They did it through monetary power. And now things are much different. For the first time since they were brought over here in ships and beaten down and just treated like crap, the Black people now had a leader. They had a voice and they had power. Nonviolent power is what Mr. King, Dr. King, was an advocate of. But now, let's just suffice it to say that everybody wasn't Martin King. Some people were violent. Maybe they didn't start off violent, but they finally got violent. Like Malcolm X, for instance. There's a lot of violence in his movement. Now the Black Panthers came along. At first, they were this benevolent group trying to get food and clothing and shelter and what have you for fellow Black people in the neighborhood. But the white cops still trying to push their little fear and intimidation vehicle got after the Black Panthers. The worm turned. The Black Panthers started bearing claws and got violent. Very violent. Again, not condonable, but certainly understandable. Well, still, this tide is changing, and Black folks are getting stronger and fearless. Now the tide turns. We're up in today's society, where Black folks are no longer afraid of police. They're no longer, intimidated by them. And now, out of all of this racism, out of all of this continually killing of Black people, Black Lives Matter came out. Now, when it first came on the scene as an organization, it was peaceful. Just to make people aware that Black people are being killed. Some of them totally innocent. Totally. Some of them with police records. Some of them, criminals. But still, do you have to kill everybody? As we know, when something sometimes starts off peaceful, it picks up dirty baggage along the way. Now, Black Lives Matter, the movement, is looked upon as a terrorist group. Because some of the leaders of it, not necessarily the initial leaders, are now saying, kill the police. Kill them all. I don't condone that. Not in the slightest. Even though I have a strong feeling about seeing Black people continually killed, brutally killed, needlessly killed, I cannot turn a hard heart to every police officer out there, because I know that there are some police officers that are out there to do what they need to do, and that's keep us safe. You see, I'm not one of those idiots who says, well, yeah, kill all the policemen, because police officers don't just needlessly kill people. Yes, a police officer may have to take out his service revolver, or maybe he may even have to go back to his cruiser and get a long gun, as they call them, because he needs to do his duty. He needs to keep the community safe, or she needs to keep the community safe. Those are police officers, because their mentality is, and they'll tell their rookies, how do you feel when you have to pull that gun? And the rookie may say, oh, I get butterflies in my stomach. I just would hate the thing. He said, that's the way you're supposed to feel. Pulling your service revolver is never an easy thing to do. Just, yeah, I'm going to pull it, bam, bam, you gone. He said, every time you have to reach for that thing, you should have butterflies in your stomach. You should get a knot in your stomach the size of the moon. Because that could mean potentially taking a human life. That's a police officer. That's the man in blue who is a friend to you, or the girl in blue that's a friend to you. That's the person that you want to stop you or to approach your car. Because you know for a certainty that you can trust them not to blow your damn brains out, because you say, these people that are going around hunting niggas are not police officers. They're thugs. They're murderers in a blue suit. I would look at them the same way I would look at any gang member, any Ku Klux Klan member, any Aryan Nation member, any Black Lives member who is not out there for the purpose that they say they are. No, these aren't police officers that killed Phil and Alton, or Tamir, or Sandra Bland, or Mr. Scott, I forgot what his last name was, but he was running away from them. They shot him. Or any of these people that they have killed. Freddie Gray. Those weren't police officers that killed those people. They were thugs in blue. I give them no credence. They are a nasty stain upon any honest-hearted law enforcement agent out there. Those bastards. TSA agents that brutally hurt that girl that had already been suffering from cancer and surgeries. Those weren't TSA officers. They were thugs in blue, and they perpetrated that against this poor, innocent, and sickly girl. Sure, there are good TSA agents out there. There are good police officers out there. There are good FBI officers out there. There are good sheriff's department. Any law enforcement agency has good officers there. But the ones who do stuff like that, they put on that badge every day. I'm hunting niggas. Or I'm hunting anybody I can kill. Yes, there have been blue on white. There have been Chinese officers that kill black folks. It's not a difference of race. It's a societal thing. We've got people out there that have sick minds. Remember, we are people first. If you're a good person and you choose to become a police officer, you will be a good police officer because you have those core values as a person. But if you are a dirtbag and you become an officer, then you're not going to be such a good officer because you started out as a dirtbag. So when you pin your badge on, you pin it on with ill intent. That's what's happening. Let's talk about that blue on whatever murder. They have been reported as even going in blowing dogs away. They'll kill anything. Black, white, red, purple, 4 legs, 2 legs. They'll kill it because that's what they want to do. It just so happens that they're wearing a badge and looking like a police officer while doing it. It's a shame that Philando Castile and Alton had to die. for nothing. Or any of the people that had to die, whether it be black, white, plaid, chartreuse, their lives were important. And that was the whole meaning for the Black Lives Matter movement. It came out of the crap that we're seeing every day. Now, they're saying that, oh, well, President O'Bastard, it's his fault. He's the reason for all this racism in this country. Hey, I can't stand the bastard either. And as much as I would like to put anything horrible at his doorstep, I can't. This started way back when. Like I said, it started at the fact that white man is too damn lazy to do his own work. They come up with all these grandiose ideas, but they're too lazy and too stingy to make them work. So what do? They go out and find some cheap slave labor. Henceforth, this is the reason we got all these foreigners in this country now. Because they are too lazy and too stingy to do their own damn work. And then when you get all these people here, then you go to barking and screaming, oh, we got all these niggas here. Oh, we got all these Mexicans here. Oh, we got all these different other kind of people here. Well, you brought them. Because you didn't want to do the work yourself. Oh, I want to build a big bridge that goes all across the San Francisco Bay. Oh, I want to build this railroad that goes all the way across the country. Oh, I want to build these big white folks sitting up on their asses, smoking them big cigars with their big feet on their big desks. But then when it comes down to the bottom line is who has to build this stuff. Well, I don't want to hire all them people because I could stand to make billions of dollars. But if I got to pay people to do it, I'll only make maybe hundreds of thousands. So we need to find some slaves. So now, here we are in 2016, and we got all of these problems. What I can put on O'Bastard, what I can put on every president that preceded him, is the fact that they were instrumental in bringing more foreigners to this country. More of them. Now, you just look at it for as it stands. The white folks can't get along with the black folks. The black folks can't get along with the white folks. This is bad. Then you bring all these other people into the mix that we can't get along with. We can't get along with just the two basic races we had. Now you got all these million different races over here, and it's just it's a powder keg waiting to explode. It's what it is. Now, thank goodness that the white contingency in this country doesn't feel the way maybe a vast majority of it does. There are some white folks out there that don't really care about nobody's color. They will accept you, they will befriend you, and they will say, I embrace this person. But everybody's not like that, especially in this country. I know there's racism in other countries, but in this one, we definitely know the difference between white and black. Having said that, white folks claim they hate muzzies so bad. If you had a choice between a muzzy and a black person, they would say, give me the muzzy. Black people are the most hated race on the planet. You don't have to do anything. Just the color of your skin dictates whether or not you're going to be accepted or denied. Hate black folks. White folks hate black folks, you know, a vast majority of them. I'm not going to say all white folks hate black folks, but a vast majority of them hate black folks so much they won't even, you know, I don't think they read black Bibles. I think they read white Bibles with gold lettering instead of the black ones with the, you know, with the black lettering. That's how deep the hatred goes. You don't have to say anything. A black person can just appear. Ugh, they're one of them old niggas. Ugh. Yeah. It doesn't matter how educated you are. It doesn't matter how prestigious you might be. If you're a black person, you don't matter. Look at O'Bastard. When he first took office, he had the appearance of being a black president. We later found out that he's not really black. He appears to be black, but you know, he spent a lot of time in Muslim countries. He adapted and started adoring their ways. He supports them. I don't know too many black things he supports. You know, so he's a Muslim in chief. But because he took the office of president, you should have heard the members of the White Senate, oh, we're going to work against him. Everything he comes up with, we're going to knock it down. Why? Because he was a nigger, or what they, it says to be a nigger. And it's senseless. Poor Ben Carson. I felt sorry for the man. I love Ben Carson. But I felt sorry for him trying to run for president. There will probably never be another black president as long as we live. Because this one got up in there and screwed up royally. And he does have the appearance of being black. So if you're black and want to be president, forget it. Not to say that all them white ones that we've had since George Washington on up, didn't screw up. Look at old blowjob Willie. He screwed up royally, and even, cheated on his wife with Monica Lewinsky. And guess what? He's still revered as a good president. And now his lovely wife, Bitchery Clinton, is running for president and will more than likely get it. Why? I don't know why. But, that's the way it is. So, here we go. It seems that a vast majority of the killings against unarmed black people are done basically by Caucasian cops. While the families of these slain victims are burying theirs, these are put on paid administrative leave and then subsequently go scot-free. So in essence, it's saying that it's open season, and therefore I can put on my badge, jump in my little Dodge Charger or my Ford Explorer, and go hunt me some niggas. Because nothing's going to happen to me. And it has gotten out of hand. So now we have what happened last evening. Now, let's pick that apart. These snipers were so acute in their execution that this had to be planned. This was a well thought out, well executed plan to take down all those police officers, killing a great number. Now, there are some out there that are praising the snipers. Oh yeah, they did a good job. Should get all of them MFers. They should just blow them away. Wrong. One, those police officers had nothing to do with what happened to Philando and Alton. Weren't even in Minnesota or Baton Rouge. They were in Dallas, Texas. Lost their lives at the hands of some murderers. No way that anybody in their right mind could condone such a thing. If you want to go kill some cops, why don't you go kill the ones that killed Alton or Philando? Go kill them. That would have made sense. Again, not a condonable thing, but an understandable thing. You killed two innocent people. Okay, the one guy may have had a police record, but at this time, he obviously wasn't incarcerated. He was out. He hadn't jumped bail. He was out. He was trying to sell some CDs. Hell, if you're going to kill somebody just because they're selling something not in a brick and mortar store, then I know of a lot of people that should be killed here in Los Angeles, not too far from where I live. They sell everything on Alvarado Boulevard. Watches, phone covers, orange juice. They don't have the certificate, health certificate, or anything. So if you're just going to walk up on somebody and kill them just because they're illegally selling something, then Alvarado Wilshire should be clear. Doesn't work like that. A lot of times I see police officers go right past and looking at all of this activity. You can't even walk down the street for it, and they just wave them on. Let me say that the people that are out there on Alvarado Boulevard aren't black, though. They're some other ethnicity. So I guess it's okay to do that if you're not a nigger. It's okay to kill them, but the other people, they just, We live in a bad time in this society We live in a time where they'd rather strain at the foreigner and crumble the infrastructure. Last evening on telly, I also heard where a trucker, big with a crane on the back of it, was driving down part of a bridge there in, I think it was in Texas. And the bridge gave way, so the heavy truck fell on a car below, crushing a mother and seriously injuring one of her sons, and the other one that was in the back seat was okay. We can't even fix up our literal infrastructure. And it's quite obviously known that by what you see with this, blowing away at black people, we can't even fix up our humanic or humanitarian infrastructure. I call upon these administrators of police departments or sheriff's departments or whatever law enforcement departments to be more proactive, more diligent in choosing well who they hire. I did a little research on Elton, and the police officers have already been investigated, and it uncovered some startling information about their service records. How many complaints, legitimate complaints, written, signed, sealed, and delivered complaints against these two officers from other agencies in other states, but yet they go to another state and they're hired. If you are, having these kinds of skirmishes on your record, you should not be hired by any law enforcement agency. You are a problem person. Just like with the gun control crapola. Oh, we want them investigated. We want them to do background checks. We want them to do this. Then why wouldn't you do that for the people that you hired to carry guns? They should be background checked up the wazoo. And if there's any blemish, the slightest blemish of racism or aggression with your gun or aggression with your baton or aggression with your police cruiser, anything negative like that, no, we don't need you as a police officer. We don't even want you to be a police officer on the Monopoly board. The guy at the end that has his finger that go directly to jail. We don't want you to even be that guy. You've got problems, possibly psychological ones. We don't want you, but no, because of the good old blue code, the good old blue boys, you're hired. And then they go out there and they do some stuff like this. Not true police officers, thugs, waiting for an opportunity to go and hunt somebody to kill. Now, I know there's been a, kind of a preponderance of black folks, but I've known a lot of white victims of police officers that have gone down. Poor girl gets incarcerated. They take her into the police station. They handcuff her to a chair. She says something to one of the officers. He turns back and he throws her on the floor, busting all of the front teeth in her mouth and her lips, and broke her nose. She's a white girl, teenager. There was an elderly white gentleman in New York. He was driving down the street, and they pulled him over because he kind of wavered. They pulled him out of the car and they beat the man to a pulp. 79-year-old man, white man. So it's not just white on black. It's white on white. It can be black on white. It can be black on black. Whatever. It's the thuggish mentality that makes you go out and kill somebody. Racism. Now, let's turn the table over to black folks. Why are they so hated? Why are they so feared by police officers that when you walk up on one, their first instinct is pull your gun and blow them away? Well, let's go back to 1976. A new type of, I don't want to call it music because in my opinion it isn't, but a new type of noise, or for this case we'll call it music, appeared on the horizon. It was called rap. I think the name of the group was Oh, I forgot the name of the group. Oh, no, not the Sugar Hill Gang. That's what it was. Sugar Hill Gang. Come out with a song called Rapper's Delight. I first heard it on the radio and I didn't care for it. I said, what kind of music is that? It's you know. I didn't care for it. Then came along this group called Two Live Crew. And as much as I didn't like the Rapper's Delight, when I heard well, I forgot the name of their pitiful song, but it was filthy. Talking about what they wanted to do to girls and all this kind of filth. And I looked to our grandmother and I said, "Nah." She said, "Baby, what is that playing on the radio?" I said, "It's called rap." I said, "And you mark my words, that's going to be the degradation not only of this nation, but of us as a people." Then they came up with this gangster rap, where they're talking about putting a cap in your ass, and I'll bust you, I'll cut your throat, motherfucker. Okay, then here comes a new trend of dressing, wearing their britches down past the crack of their butt, wearing these baggy looking hoods and things over their head, looking like trash, looking like gangbangers with the checkered shirts and the head rags and the do-rags and, you know, with them funny walks and you know, oh, my swag. You got to respect my swag. First of all, swag comes from the root word swagger. And that means a way of walking or way of carrying yourself. Yeah, your swag doesn't deserve respecting. It's repulsive. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? You feel me? No, I don't want to feel you. I don't want to touch you. Your way of speaking, your dialect, denotes that you're something to be maybe feared or at least looked upon hawkishly. Would you go into a job interview with your pants sagging down around your ankles, bopping and popping, you know, with your rap and all that, and then you tell the job interviewer, "Hey, look here, homie, I come in to get me a job. You feel me? You see what I'm saying? See, because I want to get me some bling so that I can have people respecting my swag. You catch me, homie? You feel me?" Do you think you'd get the job? No. You'd be shown the door. The best thing that any human being can possibly do is to show their intelligence. To show that you have an ounce of brain in your head. So that when people do look at you, you're respected. Perchance even admired. Not walking around like some little punkish thug ready to jack old ladies for their Social Security checks and go cruising McDonald's half the day. This rap, this hip hop crap has been the degradation of our people. So anytime they see somebody of this ilk, you're automatically thought of as a thug. Like I said, Black Lives Matter started out benevolent and, you know, trying to make people aware that, hey, there is a problem with racism in this country, and it has obviously spilled over into the law enforcement agencies because we're getting a lot of black people killed for nothing. But now it's turned into a thuggish movement. I've even kind of lost some acquaintances that I've had because of the Black Lives Matter unit or, you know, movement. Because that's all they seem to be able to think about it. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter do this. Black Lives Matter do that. And they never mention the KKK or the Aryan Nation or the skinheads. Like I said, Black Lives evolved from that. When the Ku Klux Klan was putting rocks around the feet of black men and throwing them over in the river, or tarring and feathering them, or hanging them up in trees, Black Lives Matter wasn't even around, wasn't even thought of. So there's a lot of cleaning up to do on all sides to make our society work again, because it's not working. We're sitting on a powder keg and it's about to blow. You're getting people just blowing away innocent police officers. Okay, here's my spin on it. Me as a black man. At this point, I'd be very leery to stick my head out the door because now police officers are scared. And rightfully so. Who wants to get up and do your job in the morning or attempt to do your job if you know you're going to get blown away? So how often is it going to happen now like it did about 15, 20 years ago where they're going to start picking them off in their cars? Or if you're flat-foot, walking the beat, doing your community policing, you get picked off right there. They're scared. I don't blame them. It's gotten out of hand. That's what happens when you do violence. Violence begets violence. It's just a law of nature. So black folks got to clean up their act. All this gangster rapping and all of this making yourself look like, like somebody who wants to be around. Nobody wants to be around somebody showing their BVDs or their butt crack. Nobody wants to be around somebody they can't understand. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? My swag, and my bling, and my this, and my that. What up, cuz? Yeah. I mean, come on. Who do we want to be in this country? Making the country great again. Yeah, that's a broadband statement. How do we make the country great again? By trying to respect each other, by trying to make sure that if we are out there as a black person, as a white person, or as whatever other kind of person you have in this country, making sure you're putting your best foot forward so that you will be respected for that content of your character as well as the color of your skin. Our police officers don't need to be killed. Our police officers need to go home to their families the same way they left them that morning or that evening or whatever your policeman's shift is. They need to go back to their families in the same condition because they're out there doing a good job. I'm speaking of police officers or law enforcement that are out there doing what they're intended to do in a humanitarian way of doing it. I'm not talking about the thugs in blue. We know what they're about. They're about hunting niggas. They're about hunting dogs. They're about hunting hunkies. They're about hunting whatever they can kill because they love it. They're not law enforcement. They're thugs in blue. I'm not talking about those bastards. I'm talking about real law enforcement officers who are going out there risking their lives to take care of us. I think the exec has something to say because I got to wet my whistle.
We've been talking quite a while.
Talk myself to death.
It's a very meaty subject. Everything is, getting crazy with this. It's getting worse and worse as time passes by. I've said this to my brother before that it seems like a whole month can't pass by without some innocent or non-innocent, depending on the case, black person getting killed by a police officer. And to start off, myself as saying, so very sorry that this happened to these poor officers and their families and friends, and I do send them my good condolences and well wishes to survive the ones that weren't killed, and for the ones that did have their family members killed, for them to find some kind of peace and solace in the good memories they had with them and all them sort of good things that, my friends and support from the community and everything. Hope that does help them, make them feel better in some way. But as I said before I started saying that, this is getting worse. Every time you turn around, something's happening, and then now this happens. There's going to be some kind of civil unrest or civil war potentially sometime soon. And my brother and I have been talking about that. It's going to break out and get really, really bad. Something bad is really going to happen. There was a Trump supporter that came to a Black Lives Matter rally in Portland. And he claimed he was scared for his life, and that's what justified him pulling a gun on everybody out there. His name is Michael Strickland. He was backing down away from a dozen people, and he had a tripod mounted camera in the left hand, his right hand grabbed near his waistband. He pulled out a Glock 27 and assumed a wide stance, grasping the gun with both hands, swung it from side to side, bellowing, "Back off, Several people screamed, hit the ground. Others dropped and dove behind cars. More than 1,000 other protesters were unaware of what was happening and continued with the rally against police killings. A few protesters continued to walk calmly towards him, and they said they just wanted him to leave. They tried to calm him down, and some of them even invited him for a cup of coffee to try to calm him down. And then finally the SWAT came and got him, on the ground and took him away and everything. But I said that to say this: I saw someone making a comment about this incident, and this person said that he should have killed all these people. That would have stopped this from happening. And as you alluded to earlier, that wouldn't have stopped it. This would have happened, and no matter what. It was inevitable. And this same person that made this comment had the balls to call these Black Lives Matter people terrorists. I wouldn't really go that far at all. That's kind of a strong statement when you call someone a terrorist, and those people aren't terrorists. They're hurting and they want justice. They want peace. They don't want their people to be killed anymore. And it's too many terrible things that white people have done to black people, including the things you mentioned way back in the day. And me as a white person, and my opinion of the history of what white people have done to black people, it makes, I'm ashamed to say this, but it's true, and I can't help it. Those are my feelings. But I'm ashamed, appalled, and embarrassed to be considered part of that white race that did those heinous and terrible and murderous things to those people just because of the color of their skin and put them to work and hurt them and everything. I'm ashamed to be white sometimes. To know that my people have done these horrible things to another group of people is ridiculous. It's a shame. And to have one group of people treated like that, like you said, it's the most hated out of all. And even Muzzies aren't hated as much as black people, because it's just racism is and always will be around. There's nothing that you can do to stop it. Black Lives Matter movement, as you said initially, was a good thing, and then some branched out and started doing violent things. But like you said, it's not condonable, but it's understandable. And with the way things keep happening, 2 in 1 week, 2 deaths in 1 week, murders, by the police,
It's the police officers, innocent police officers, that makes it 7 lives out of this world because of stupidity and craziness.
There's too much blood, too much violence, too much lives lost already. It's ridiculous. It's like I said, it's going to get worse. There's going to be some kind of civil war or something, because people are tired and fed up, most obviously. And this is not going away. The cops need to stop what they're doing, and they're obviously not going to. And this is going to erupt into something really terrible, and I'm scared about that. But I can't think of anything else right now, so before I turn this into dead air with me saying, I'll switch it back over to you.
Well, it's a war. And how big the war is going to escalate to is anybody's guess. But lawmakers like O'Bastard and his group and this stupid Governor Moonbeam that we have up here, they can come up with all the gun laws, they can find. But it's not going to stop this problem, because it's just not a gun problem. It's a societal problem. It's how we accept things, how we come to accept things. Along with the gun controls, there needs to be news media control. There needs to be entertainment control. Like all of these different stupid rap songs where they're glorifying captains, put the cap in somebody's ass, and all of these movies that they're showing where the first 15 seconds of the film somebody blows away 15 people. Or if you pick up a video game, the best way you can do it is to be a first-person shooter, or all of this kind of crapola. It's everything, not one thing, it's everything, and it's all interconnected. And until we have the sense enough to understand that, things like this are going to continue to happen, because it's accepted. It's the wonderful thing to do. It's the norm. It's not a bad thing anymore to pick up a gun and blow somebody away. It's not a bad thing to hire people that have ill content in their heart, so that the best thing they can do when they get up in the morning and go off to work is to hurt people. Whether it be police officers, whether it be people in the educational field, the medical field, whatever field you can imagine, there are those out there who are sleazebags who go to work and open the door and go into the office or get into their squad cars or get into the operating room, whatever, to hurt people. Or if it's not even that, just to make money, which is not what you should think of, especially when you have a job that includes your working with human beings. It shouldn't include that. So our police officers, our law enforcement community from the Phil Taylor Jones Show, please remain safe as you can. I know you guys are taught to really check your 6s and your 8s and check your 9s and 10s too, because you never know where the murderers are. Be safe out there. We need you. We applaud you. And we worry for your safety. And to fellow black people out there, you need to be careful too, because you don't know where the murderers are. You don't know whether or not that police officer is a real police officer or just a thug in blue. So need to be ever vigilant about your surroundings, checking where you are and what you need to be doing to keep yourself safe so you can get back home to your family safe and sound. And before I close it out, I'm going to check with the exec one more time, see if he's got anything.
Yeah, I did forget to mention one important thing myself to condone, apologies, I got my words mixed up here. I commend also the boys in blue that are true boys in blue that do the right thing by people and do protect and serve, not murder and maim. You know, they do the right thing. They're getting paid for it. They have it in their hearts, like you said. You know, to pull out that gun is a terrible thing for them. You know, not the ones that pull it out and just blam and blow people away. I do, have a lot of respect for those ones, but the ones that don't do that, the ones that kill people and get on the news doing it, you're real total dirtbags and bastards. And I wish they had some kind of better system by which to ensure that those kind of people never work for the law enforcement.
I've known quite a few police officers, both school police and LAPD, and we would talk, and one of them told me, he said, "Phil, the best type of police work I love to do." And I said, "What's that, Charles?" He said, "It's when I go out in the community. I get out of my squad car and I'm walking around with the neighbors and the business owners, shopkeepers, and we're passing the time of day, and if I can help them get some creeps away from their business or what have you, that's the kind of policing I love to do." There's a lot of good, wonderful officers out there, and they don't deserve this. And those 5 officers that lost their lives last evening, they did not deserve this. And I want it firmly understood on the Phil Taylor Jones Show that this kind of garbage is not condoned. It's not appreciated from any group. I don't care who it is. You don't kill our police officers. They're out there to protect you and me and all of the other citizens out there. Leave them alone. If you want to go kill some thugs, and you find out who those thugs are that are feigning to be police, and then if you got to do something, do it. But you leave our hardworking, kind, caring officers alone. They're good people, and they deserve to go back home to their families. And having said that, try to keep your family safe, and we appreciate and applaud you, our viewers and supporters. And hey, at the recording of this show, it is Friday. Let's hope that we can have a peaceful Friday and not people killing each other, our wonderful citizens and our wonderful police officers. Stay safe, be happy, and we'll see you next time right here on the show. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.